and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of the Russia-Africa Summit held here in the city of St. Petersburg, Russia. We are still at the Expo Forum in St. Petersburg, and today we have our guest with us, who's Danil Sobotin, Deputy Director General for Development of the agency Space Rocket Center called Progress. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Sarah. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
We are very happy to have you with us in this our studio. So let's talk a little bit about Russian and African cooperation. What could you tell us about the development of the relations between Russia and Africa, especially during events like these ones, like summits that are being held? We see that there is a stronger relationship, or at least President Putin is working on strengthening the relationship between Russia and Africa.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. I think this summit is a great opportunity for Russian and African companies to meet each other, to shake hands, to develop the relationships which may foster other great opportunities in various fields of science, technology, humanitarian fields. So I'd say let's talk, let's exchange ideas in order to for our nations to profit from these exchanges, to enrich ourselves with ideas of each other.
And should we expect through this more investment in Africa?
I would say yes, because, well, I think that nowadays Africa represents great opportunity for Russian, and not only Russian, but worldwide investors. Me myself, I would like to I'd like to say that Africa, in order to assert its technological and scientific independence, should invest in these bilateral relationships with Russia as well. And I think every and each Russian company which is presented here on this summit, as well as scientific establishments and universities, will be ready to enter into these relationships, into these negotiations.
Speaking of universities and education, investing in educational cooperation, President Putin has stated that over 35,000 African students are currently studying in Russia, and also that there are more than 4,700 opportunities for foreign students, African students mainly, to come to Russia next year for studies.
Yeah, I think it's a really great idea to enhance and to develop these relationships between the scientific and educational establishments of African continent and Russia. Our universities may provide various programs in different fields of science, ranging from humanitarian sciences, in law, literature, and so on, up to very high-tech technological branches of science like space exploration, civil launches, spacecraft, and so on.
Yeah, speaking of space exploration, there was an agreement that was signed recently between Algeria and Russia when Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune came to Russia for a state visit, and it was actually on the useful and the use in a peaceful way of space technology.
Yeah, I'm glad you have mentioned it, because as you well know, recently this year an African space agency has been established in order to coordinate various initiatives of its member states in this peaceful exploration of space. And as a representative of Roscosmos company, Progress, I'd say Russian space industry and my company in particular will be very eager and glad to help you, to help the African Space Agency and every and each nation which is currently a member of this African Space Agency to develop the necessary technology in order to reach space, in order for these space technologies to enhance, to provide opportunities for the citizens of these nations. So, in order for the economy to bloom, you know, because space is really a great enhancer, and it's a multiplier of every and each activity, economic activity, I would say. So we'll be there for you, and we're ready for cooperation.
Yes, and you have just mentioned that it helps blossom, helps the economy to blossom even more. Could you explain how space can contribute to that?
Yeah, it's really a great question, Sarah. I'd say economy is an efficient and effective use of scarce resources. So in order to efficiently use these resources, sometimes it is necessary to monitor them. I'm talking about forests, lands, crops, sea or water resources, and so on. And space and the technologies which are developed in order to function in space help you to monitor, effectively monitor your resources, the use of these resources. I'm talking, for example, about the Earth observation spacecraft, or not only observation spacecraft, but there are spacecraft for various needs. For example, nowadays a free flow of information is required in order to effectively and efficiently fulfill various tasks. I know that African continent is in great need of this communication network to be established and to be maintained. Space provides great opportunity to how would say to establish the links between various nations.
Yes, it would be a bridge maybe between the nations.
Yeah, thank you very much. So various telecommunication satellites, the telecom constellations provide continuous 24/7 signals, which well, it's the global coverage, the internet, the telephone, TV, and so on. So it's the space makes it all accessible and all available for every and each citizen of African continent.
And would you consider Africa as a good partner when it comes to space technology? Would it be Africa? Is it a good investment in space technology? And also, would it be a mutually beneficial relationship for both Russia and Africa to invest in space technology?
Yeah, I think it's mutually beneficial to develop the joint programs in space exploration, not only in scientific ways, but also in commercial ways, in commercial applications. So yeah, let's examine these opportunities together.
What would you say the opportunities are when you talk about, for example, commercial opportunities? What would they be like?
Well, Africa has vast land resources. For example, either in north or in south regions of Africa, you may establish a spaceport in order to be able to launch various civil launches to eject various constellations in space. For example, Earth observation satellites, which will monitor the land resources, the forests, the sea, and so on. Various telecom satellites, and so on. So I think that Africa is really is a great continent because it has vast land resources in order to be able to locate there, I would say, not only spaceports, but the cities of future, I would say, where various scientific, technological, and other establishments may be located, may be installed.
In the same area. So or let's say Africa is viewed as a good partner in this field, and it would be a win-win relationship if it came to happen, really. Would you think that it should be like we should develop more centers, more space centers, such as the one that you have mentioned that was created this year?
I would say that we should develop the maybe various task forces, various discussion groups in order to maybe fully understand the benefits and the interests of each other. I'd say let's progress step by step.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this comes through education. We were talking about education earlier. So do you provide educational programs to African countries in this field?
Yes. In Russia there are several national universities which provide a thorough technical education in the field of rocketry, space sciences, applied physics and mathematics, which are all necessary in order to be able to not only to develop the space technologies, satellites or launchers, but to be also able to operate this infrastructure, because once it is over there, it needs to be operated.
So there will be a transfer of the technology once
absolutely,
it's done.
yes. And I'd say that this kind of rocket space industry provides a huge opportunities for so-called spillovers. You know, when you develop a product or a technology in rocket space industry, the principles themselves used in this technology have this carryover effect on other.
It's sort of snowball effect.
Absolutely, yes.
So we expect, for example, if you can reach one country in Africa, it should have also a snowball effect on other countries
absolutely,
in Africa.
yes.
Was there an interest shown towards a cooperation in this space? We mentioned Algeria on the one hand, but was this interest expressed also by other African countries?
Yeah. I know, I'm well aware of various African companies which are private, which are developing which are developing products like spacecraft, and they are already launching them with the help of Russian launchers. So I think that the mutual interest is already there. So we must foster it, we must develop it, and so that's why I'm all in for every opportunity to talk, to establish connections such
as this event,
yes.
Summit. And how is Russia really promoting this space program or this space cooperation with African countries?
Yeah, the head of Roscosmos, Mr. Borisov, recently visited several African countries in order to promote the Russian expertise and to offer our friendship and help for African continent in their effort to establish their proper national space programs. So here on this summit, on this forum, there are several products which are displayed in order for the representatives of African nations to view them, to ask questions.
Would you say that Russia is ahead? We know that the first man who went to the moon was Yuri Gagarin, a Russian man. So would you say that when it comes to space technology, Russia has state-of-the-art technology?
Absolutely, yes. And we are proud of the process itself, which is used to create spacecraft and launches. The process of this space technology development ensures the highest possible quality of these products, because once it's over there, you've got almost no access to its various components. So you must ensure that the process of development and manufacturing leaves no room for error, I would say. So yes, I think Russia may be of great help for every African nation which wants to develop its proper space program or participate in a joint venture with either commercial, private or governmental agencies or companies.
Yes, and we must highlight once again what we stated earlier, that Russia is all for transfer of technology when it goes into a cooperation with African countries, right?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, the technology, the information nowadays itself is more valuable than a product which is made with the help of this information. And I think that we have many opportunities not only to jointly develop spacecraft or launches, but to transfer the technology from Russia to Africa. So
in general, we would say that Russia promotes actually the independence of African countries or African partners from their foreign partners in any economic cooperation.
Absolutely, yes. I think that in order to assert its independence and economical independence,
Yes,
I
yes,
would
yes,
say,
absolutely.
One must have a complete technological independence in a branch, in an industry. So rocket space industry is one of major industries in every developed country, and this industry itself is a driver for the adjacent industries, because the high-tech products, they need various high-tech components and high-tech skills. So the rocket space industry is really a hub which links various components into a system, an homogeneous system.
Yes. President Putin has stated that Russia wants to help African countries or support African countries in their fight against poverty, among other things.
Yeah.
Do you think that this cooperation in spaceships, for example, in space technology, or in education, also in the field of space technology, could help?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that the development of educational programs in various high-tech fields, in sophisticated, in order for today's students to be future developers of high-tech products, and the establishment of such a high-tech branch of industry as the rocket space industry will certainly help African countries to really maintain a high level of independence. Yes. And to promote the development of various economic activities which themselves rely upon this high-tech technology like space. Mm-hmm. I mean, communications, internet providers, various services for citizens. These applications are very well supported by the spacecraft, by various space constellations, and so on.
So, according to you, what would be the best approach for African countries? Should they all come together as one, create maybe one agency that would represent all the African countries, and maybe start this cooperation with Russia?
Yeah, I think you are right, because, well, even if the space technology has become really available nowadays, nevertheless, space is hard, you know. Space is hard, and sometimes it needs, well, it's not sometimes, I think that 90% of time it needs governmental coordination. Yes. Because the cost of error is high, and in order to be able, in order to be sure that the product, which is a very sophisticated one, will function nominally in space, various activities should be coordinated. And I think that, as you said, nations which are now forming this African Space Agency should come together in order to orient, to maintain a high level of integrity, and to coordinate these programs in different projects which compose the space program of the African continent.
And according to you, what should be the next steps to be taken in order to make this cooperation more concrete?
I think that a special task force, or maybe a dedicated Russian-African space working group or task force be organized. And I think that we will be ready to invite you either in Russia or to come to Africa to participate in such a summit, such a forum.
That would be devoted fully to space and education between Africa and Russia.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you. With this, we come to the end of our program. Thank you for being with us, Mr. Denis Subotin. It has been a pleasure having you with us today.
Pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for following the program. It's the end of today's program, and we'll meet you again in the next few days.